The first thing we're going to start with is the exponent on the parentheses, right? Always parentheses first. And since this 2 is on this, it applies to all the different bases inside. Make sure, though, there's no pluses or minuses because we can't distribute over addition. So let's just apply this. So first I have 5 squared. Then I have a squared squared. So remember, an exponent on top of another exponent, we can just multiply them. So I have a to the 4th. Same thing here, b squared to the second power is then also b to the 4th. And then I have c to the negative 5 raised to the second power, so I can just multiply those and I get c to the negative 10. On the bottom, we'll just keep it the same. Right, so now that our parentheses is gone, now we can just start simplifying things. And the first thing I like to do again is I like to take care of negative exponents because that I feel are easier to do. So I have a negative exponent up top here. This right here, that c to the negative 10, so that's going to move down to the bottom. And this a to the negative 8 is going to move up to the top. So let's go and do that move right now. And I'm going to end up with, let's see, the 5 squared is still on top, a to the 4th still on top, b to the 4th still on top. That c to the negative 10 is down, but that a to the 8th moved to the top. On the bottom I have b to the 7th, c to the 4th, and then also the c to the 10th that moved down. Now we can just simplify, so we'll just simplify them one by one. Let's start with the numbers. With just the constant, it's going to be 25 since it's 5 squared. Then I can do the a's, so I see an a to the 4th and an a to the 8th. So we're just multiplying them. I can rearrange it so it's all multiplication. And so again, we have two separate bases, but they're the same base, so I can just add their exponents. So I have 4 plus 8 is 12. Now let's do the b's. I have 7 b's on the bottom, 4 on the top. So one way you can do this is 4 minus 7 is negative 3. Or the way, again, I like to think is I have 7 on the bottom, 4 on top. They're going to start canceling out. And since there's more on the bottom, I'll have 3 left over. But those 3 left over will be on the bottom. And last c's, I have 2 separate c's here that are being multiplied here. And again, same base, but on separate bases, we just add those exponents. So that's going to be c to the 14th. So there's my answer. Let's see if you can find it. That'll be right here. All right, for number 21. Again, the thing that we should note here is that we have 2 terms, and it's to the 3rd power. So the way we do that is, we know it's going to be something short times something long, so this one's automatically not it. Don't ever choose that one. But we have to find the cube roots of these to get our a and our b. And this is easy because it's multiple choice. I know the cube root of 125 is, well, it better be 5 because all the multiple choices say that. And the cube root of 8 is 2, and cube root of c to the 3rd is c. And it's a plus in between, so I'll keep that plus sign. So I know this is not it either. Now to get the other part is, remember, we just do the AB. Make sure you take the opposite of that one, and then BB. So the first times first, first times second, second times second. Take the opposite of the middle one. So first times first, I have 5a times itself is 25a squared. Then I do a times b, so this one times this one. And I get 5a times 2c is 10ac positive, but we take the opposite of that. So we get minus 10ac. And then the last one is just 2c, 2c is going to be 4c squared. And which one's that answer? That one is B. Right, so I know a lot of us struggled with this question, but really it's just read the problem and plug in the numbers. So all I have, it tells us here that this is the equation we're going to use. It's an exponential equation that's decaying because this is less than 1. But that's not the important part. The part that we have to read is that A represents the number of grams present initially, and T represents the time in years. Then they tell us, oh, 5,000 is the number of grams present initially. So what does that mean? I plug that into A, because that's what A represents. So I plug in 5,000 for A. Then we have 1/2 to the T over 3 power. Well, T is the time in years, and then they tell us that, oh, the time in years is 9, so it's just 9 over 3. Now we could do the third root into the ninth power, but that's a lot harder than rather than just simplifying that fraction. 9 divided by 3 is 3. So this is just 5,000 to the 1/2 to the third power. And don't forget order of operations. We have to do exponents first. So 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2. Well, if we multiply the top 3 times, 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. Then the bottom, 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. And don't be afraid of the fraction. Remember, it's just multiply the top, then divide by the bottom. So here I have 5,000 divided by 8. We can do the long division. And I see 8 goes into this 0 times. 8 goes into 50 6 times. 6 times 8 is 48. Bring down the 0. 8 goes into here twice. So you can probably already see the answer, but let's just finish this out. And last 8 goes into 45 times. So my answer is 625. All right, here's another really fast, easy problem. The way we do this, remember the denominator of an exponent is always the root. So they're telling us this is the root. So that's also the denominator. So I can rewrite this still as 19 to the 5th power. But rather than putting the third root, we'll just put it the 1/3 power. So what is this? Oops, I don't know why that 15 there should be a 5. So to the 5/3 power, and we get C. All right, for number 24. Again, we can just distribute everything, but I like to set this up vertically. It makes things easier and more organized, in my opinion. So I have x squared minus x minus 5, and then underneath we have minus x minus 3. And we just do this like multiplication. Start with the far right and multiply it to each, and then we stack it up with the next one and add straight down. So negative 3 times negative 5 is 15, positive. Negative 3 times negative x is positive 3x. And negative 3 times x squared is negative 3x squared. Next I do the x's. So negative x times negative 5 is positive 5x. So I'm going to stack it up with the x. Negative x times negative x is positive x squared. And negative x times x squared is negative x to the 3rd. So all I do is add straight down and we have our answer. So here I get minus 2x squared plus 8x plus 15. And which one's that? This one right here. Be very careful. They all look very, very similar, so it's very easy to make a mistake. All right, for number 25, they're asking us to find the x-intercepts. So 2 ways to think about that. That's where it crosses the y-axis, the x-axis, or that's where y is equal to 0. And that's the one we're going to use most, is y is equal to 0 whenever we have an x-intercept. So that's my way of thinking the definition. X-intercept is when y is 0. So all we do is plug in 0 and solve it out. And here we can see that, okay, I can use maybe quadratic formula or something, but looking at the answers, probably the easiest method will be by factoring. So let's see if we can factor this. So the way we factor 3 terms is set up 2 parentheses, and let's try and guess and test this. So only thing that multiplies to 5 is 5 and 1. So let's use 5x and 1x. And that multiplies to 12 could be 6 and 2, 4 and 3. There'll be opposite signs. Maybe, let's see, what else? 12 and 1. So what would work? Let's try 4 and 3. Did a little mental math, but let's see if this works out. I know one has to be negative, one has to be positive. I'm going to make this one positive and this one negative. Now before we do anything, you always have to check. So we'll check the inside and the outside. That is negative 4x and 15x. And that adds up to 11x, which is good because that's what I have in the middle, 11x. Good, so this is factored out, but now we just apply the zero product property, which says, okay, I have 2 things that multiply to 0. Well, either this one is equal to 0 or the other one's equal to 0. And we solve and get our answers. So here you'll get 4/5 if you solve it. And here you get -3. So let's see.